After playing the demo for this game, I assumed I had already selected my game of the year. The idea of combining a city builder with the epic odyssey of traveling across the universe, just like one of my favorite games of all time, Homeworld, had me ready to blast off into orbit on my own manifested hype rocket. Yet after more than 20 hours of painful restarts, ugly save scumming, and being blindsided by torturous mechanics seemingly engineered for as little enjoyment as possible, I have become the embodiment of disappointment. It's now time for all of us to suffer through IXION. Start out being introduced to a cast of characters you'll never see or hear from again as you prepare your massive flying space station ship to test the mighty Vol drives and make your way to Alpha Centauri. The introduction of building in this beautifully detailed but space-limited environment gives you plenty of time to investigate the details of and try desperately to make sure you can squeeze buildings onto every square inch of that metallic surface. After you jam the required parts into this wheel of misfortune, you'll cruise on over to the moon and, after listening to a flowery Elon Musky speech, you'll commence your ill-fated journey that leaves the moon shredded and ready to give Earth some unrequited love. Meanwhile, you'll venture through one of the sexiest sci-fi cutscenes ever put to a screen, set to one of the many orgasmic tracks in this musical collection. Once you emerge on the other side though, you won't be tanning yourself by the light of another star, you'll still be by the moon, only now it's fucked up. Apparently whatever sabotage occurred caused you to leap through time rather than space, and now it's time to pick up the remnants of a long dead world and haul them onto your new forever home. This broken piece of shit. Now begins the real game where you'll beset the Frostpunkian adventure of trying to keep your crew and ship alive in a hostile universe, except instead of the constant chill of death nipping at your heels, it's your ship perpetually bleeding structural integrity. That's right, this portion of the game that I thought was a bug is in fact the cornerstone of the mechanics. You'll have to build EVA airlocks to have crews eternally supergluing your ship together and forever draining your stockpile of metal alloys, the same alloys you need to build every building in the game. But don't worry, there are plenty of resources fresh and ready to be harvested in the universe, but to find them you'll have to play this probe minigame that is definitely not exactly like the scanning minigame from Mass Effect 2. Once you've found those sweet deposits of iron, carbon, silicon, water ice, and hydrogen, you can build mining and cargo ships to evict them from their asteroid homes and space truck them back for you to refine. You can't directly manage these ships though, so while they will get what you're asking for and not get what you tell them not to, they'll also fly directly through deadly space storms and violently explode, killing all the crew on board for extra fun. You'll also have ships you can send out to your mysterious new environments that can perform research missions where you'll be able to randomly guess the right outcome or just save scum so you don't lose your ship and everyone on it to a mutated space monster person. These will generate research points for a research tree that's actually just a research ring where you have to research every single thing in the ring to get to the next ring. But also, much of the most important research is hidden under each item, and if you missed that little blip on one of the dozens of tutorial pages like I did, you'll also be the idiot that has to restart the entire chapter. But taking the short route to failure down the long road of shit is the core of IXION. You'll be restarting from old saves in previous chapters all the time as you slam your face against cascading failures that occur for a variety of reasons. For instance, one of the many accidents that make random buildings just stop working could cause important resource production, repair, or even medical facilities to shut down. Then that shutdown might be the final straw to make one of these totally independent sectors you unlock overworked, which decreases the production of everything within. Ultimately, this chain of events spirals into riots, explosions, and your ship either falling apart into the void or your crew getting so pissed that they toss you into the sun. IXION, the space survival city builder you always wanted if you actually wanted a tedious management sim. The comparisons to Frostpunk here are obvious, but I played Frostpunk in part to prepare for IXION and found myself missing its functionality and balance. Unlike Frostpunk, where it can be rough until you figure things out, when you learn how to keep your ship alive and people generally happy in IXION, the game collapses into a watery bowl of tedious tasks and micromanagement soup where you spend most of your time trying to Tetris buildings into slivers of remaining space. I spent more time trying to future-proof myself at the end of each chapter to the front-loaded events of the next chapter than I ever did enjoying the journey it presented. These generally start with game-ending challenges being heaped onto you and even tiny mistakes destroying your progress and forcing regression. I spent hours just sitting and fast-forward collecting resources, trying to research with a trickle of points and destroying and recreating countless buildings for tiny percentages of additional production and safety buffers. I'd say maybe 2 of the 22 hours I spent in this game were actually experiencing any part of the story or dynamic events. Even that cool-ass cutscene ends up being recycled each chapter, with the only change being the additional visible solar panels I added to my ship. If it wasn't for the handful of impressive visuals and stellar soundtrack, I probably wouldn't have made it as far as I did, but because IXION squandered so much potential with an incredible concept, I'm giving it the abbreviated score of bad. If you'd like to see more hot takes, warm satire, and tepid commentary about video games, make sure to subscribe and check out my other abbreviated reviews.